Today we're going to build a custom case that has everything you need to film videos anywhere. The problem with making videos is that you need a lot of stuff and you have to set up all of that stuff every single time you want to make a video. This crazy video case project is my attempt to solve that issue. I've had this idea of a simple case that I could plop onto a table, the ground, or really anywhere and be able to start filming in seconds. This is what I came up with, and we're going to be building this thing in this video and see what it looks like and how you can use it. When it comes to cost, you're looking at around $380 to get this started, excluding the camera, the monitor, and the audio gear. But we'll talk about several ways you can bring that price even lower. So let's start by taking a look at the final project. Then I'll walk you through putting everything together, and we'll finish up with a demo of the case in action. All of the gear mentioned in this video will be down in the description, listed chronologically. So this entire setup is built on a Peligan 1510 case. At $170 to $200, it isn't cheap, but we will need something strong to mount all of our gear to. It is carry-on approved, which is pretty sweet, and waterproof since I managed to build this without drilling any holes. This also means if you decide you don't want to use this anymore, you pull everything out and you've got a perfectly good Pelican case, which I can't say for all of my past projects. Most of the gear is mounted to the lid of the case. This allows you to open the top and start filming without messing with the tripod. For this setup, I went with the Canon M50 and mounted it to a camera lift and ball head. This gives me a ton of height adjustments while still being able to close the case completely. For audio, I went with the trusty Rode Wireless Go 2s and have the transmitters and receiver mounted to the right side so I can easily grab the mics and go. On the left side of the case, I've mounted a monitor on a friction arm. This is a little redundant if you have a camera with a flip out screen, but is really helpful if you're going to film yourself further away from the case. You can also flip out and face the back of the case if someone else needs to monitor the camera for you. Then we have lighting, which normally my standards would be much higher, but given how little space we have in this case, I opted for something really simple like this Viltrox LED light. It lives comfortably in the base of the case and can be added to the camera if natural light isn't sufficient. You can also turn it around and bounce the light off of a wall for a more pleasing look. And of course, you could pack other lighting gear in this case, but that would require more setup time, which is kind of the opposite of what I was going for with this project. For power, I'm using a USB battery and a few adapters to power everything. You could also just use a small power strip if wired is more your thing. Now let's put everything together and talk about the parts used for this kit. The first step is to mount 1 to 3 metal bars to the inside of the case's lid. There are 6 mounting holes in the lid, and I found these dual flash mounts were just the right size for the case. If you just want to mount a camera, you can use a single bar in the center. These bars also work horizontally, so you can get creative with how you mount the gear in the case. The one thing you really want to make sure is when you buy these flash mounts, you get the 10.6 inch version, I believe. You don't want anything shorter, it's gotta be 10.6 inches. Before installing the bars, we need to mount our other rigging gear as we won't be able to access that side without removing everything. Each of these bars comes with 2 1/4 20-inch bolts, and there's a 1/4 20-inch thread in the center. To bolt the bars down, I used some metric screws. There may be better options out there, but I had a ton of these lying around and they worked great. For a bare bones setup, you could simply mount a ball head to a bar in the center of the lid and call it a day. I wanted more flexibility, so I started by adding an Arca Swiss clamp to the middle of the center bar. From there, I attached an Arca Swiss L bracket, which will allow me to raise and lower the camera's platform and completely remove it if I need to. Next, I added the Edelkrone Flex Tilt and a ball head. This strange head/platform will give me a ton of height adjustment while also remaining low profile when the lid is closed. It isn't cheap at $135, but there are several budget knockoffs if you want to save a few bucks. With that, our camera setup is done and we can move on to the monitor. On the left side of the case, I mounted another bar with a friction arm and monitor threaded into the center hole. You could, however, exchange the monitor for a shotgun microphone, a light, or really anything else. Moving to the right side of the case, I mounted another bar with 3 cold shoe mounts. This will allow me to mount the entire Rode Wireless Go 2 kit. The center cold shoe gets bolted to the center thread on the bar, and the top and bottom cold shoes get mounted along with the bar using those M4 screws. Connect a 3.5mm cable from the Go2 receiver to the camera, and the audio setup is done. For power options, there's two ways to go. You can go with AC, which is what I have here, just a small power strip, and then power adapters for the camera, the monitor, the light, etc. And then all I have to do is grab an extension cord, plug it in, and I'm good to go forever. The other option is to go with the battery power. In particular, I think USB is a great option. Then you could buy a couple adapters to go from 5 volts to your camera, as well as 5 to 12 volts for your monitor and other accessories. I stuffed all the power cables and battery into the bottom left part of the case and used gaff tape to secure cables in place. You could also use these little sticky cable clamps for a cleaner setup. You can buy this case with foam or buy a separate organizer, which is what I did for $70. To finish up the case, all we need to do is run our cables, add a couple other accessories like lenses and filters, and do one final test close to make sure everything fits inside when the latches are locked. Now let's see what this crazy little case can do. I simply took this out into the middle of a park, put it on the ground, and here's what we were able to get. And now I have the case just sitting on the ground. I'm in a park. There's a ton of wind, a ton of traffic. So this is kind of the perfect worst case scenario. But if I was a yoga instructor or something like that, and I wanted a super rugged case that I could just take out and drop on the ground, do what I gotta do, record it, this would be a phenomenal setup. I've got the little wind muff on my Rode Wireless Go 2 transmitter so we can see what things sound like. The wind is picking up. It's crazy windy. I'm not making this up. Let me go ahead and show you what we got going on here. We've got the case sitting on the ground, and that's it. I absolutely love this whole wireless setup. So one USB battery is powering everything in the case. I was able just to grab my Rode Wireless Go 2 off of that bad boy. So another setup with this wild little case. So now I'm here in my dining room. You might hear a little bit of reverb. The fridge just kicked on in uncontrolled lighting, but that's what we got to deal with. So I'm here at my dining table and I just plopped the case down, opened it up, turned everything on, and we are rolling. We've got the Rode Wireless Go recording audio, and I'm using the Canon M50 with the Canon 22mm at f2. And I love how easy this was to set up. I just flipped the case up, plugged a cable in, turned everything on, and here we are. It's so easy to adjust things too. So if I want to go more of a high angle with the camera, it's as easy as that. And then I can adjust my framing to kind of fine tune it with that flex tilt head, which I absolutely love. I can also, if I wanted to, since I've got lenses right here in the case, I could grab something like this, the Sigma 30mm f1.4, and I could throw that on and get some more creamy shallow depth of field. So now we've got the Sigma. It's a little tight, so I'm just going to push the entire case back. I don't have to adjust any stands, move a whole bunch of stuff. I just push it back. Now I can adjust my framing a little bit with the tilt head, and now we've got more shallow depth of field at f1.4, and we're good to go. So super easy to customize your setup, to change framing, like adjust the headroom. Maybe I want to move back, something like that. Super easy to do without a whole bunch of fuss because everything is in one case. And now we are actually in my garage, and for this setup, I'm actually using my car's hatch as a tripod for this whole case. So I just dumped the case in there, turned everything on. We've got the monitor, I can see it from here. I also have my phone connected to the M50 so I can see and monitor myself, make sure everything's working. We've got wind, someone's sawing something in the distance. This door over here is creaking, but this is what things look like for just filming in a garage, throwing a case somewhere. I could move it around, change lenses, change angles, and I think this looks pretty great. So there you go, another setup using this crazy case. So that is my YouTube studio in one case setup. Hope you enjoyed it, or at least got a couple ideas out of it. There's a lot you could do to customize this. And keep in mind, even if you don't end up using this down the road, you just take everything out and now you've got a great Pelican case, which I absolutely love. So let me know what you think of this thing down in the comments. I'd also love to hear what mods you would add if you were to put something like this together. Stay tuned for more crazy videos like this here on the channel. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.